Hi, so my name is AJ, and this is the first post for my leadership blog. This is week one, and um, the first question asks, based on the readings and the activities, what knowledge have I gained about myself? The knowledge that I gained this week, I think, is that learning that I was living within a myth of vulnerability. Um, for as long as I can remember, I've always thought that I've been vulnerable with others, I've been empathetic, I've been open. Um, but also, for as long as I can remember, I've always lived in the idea that I can do it alone, I can go it alone, I'll be fine, I don't need help, I'll figure it out. So, um, thinking that I was good at being vulnerable and then reading that that's actually a myth of vulnerability was definitely an eye opener for me, and it made me look at how I was functioning within my vulnerability a little bit differently. Based on the readings this week, something that I did already know was clear as kind. So I knew clear as kind without knowing that clear as kind was a thing. So in my post, I kind of talked about just how a lot of times being direct and being, how do I word this? Being direct and getting straight to the point without adding a lot of loopholes, a lot of fillers, a lot of sugary words is kind, because the more direct that we can be with people and is the more honest we can be with people is kind. Specifically working with the population that I work with in early intervention, a lot of times I have to talk about the possible recommendation for a medical diagnosis, or I have to talk about the certain, for lack of a better word, deficiencies, the developmental delays that I see in the children. And I have to be honest with these parents that these things are not where we would expect them and where we would want them to be at the age that the children are. So the skills may not be quite where we need them to be. And being clear about that, like, so at this age, we typically expect children to do this, this, and this, and this. Right now, your child is functioning at this level, which is a little bit less than what we would want them ideally to be at. That's being clear and that's being kind to me, because I'm being honest to them versus addressing them and saying, yeah, so he's not quite doing this yet. So, we're just going to keep working on it. And it's like, no, sometimes being very clear and telling them, like, hey, this is what's going on. This is where we should be, or in the area that we should be, and this is where we're at. So, this is why we're going to take these steps, and this is why I want you to work on this so that we can kind of get closer to that goal. That's being kind, because that's telling them what they need to know. Maybe not what they want to know, but what they need to know to help and best serve their children, just like I want to serve their children. A tangible way that my leadership can be redefined or defined based on the new knowledge this week is that I definitely, I don't know if this quite redefines it yet, but I want to be a leader who is not afraid to ask for help. I want to be a leader who is able to not only acknowledge when I don't know something, but then ask for help with it. Because I don't typically have issues acknowledging when I don't know something, but going that next step and saying, hey, I need help. So that's something that I want from my leadership. That's a tangible thing, is I want to be able to ask for help more openly, more frequently, and to anybody. I don't want to have limitations to who I feel I can ask for help. To think about what I'm lacking. Based on this week's readings, I think I'm lacking vulnerability. Um, and that's really just what it comes down to. I'm lacking vulnerability in terms of asking for help every time I need it. Um, there are a couple more myths that also aligned with some things that I need to work on, but it just goes back to learning to truly be vulnerable, learning what it truly means to be vulnerable. And I think that this week's readings kind of opened my eyes to a different definition of vulnerability. I kind of look at vulnerability more not necessarily about how I'm telling my feelings and this, that, and the other, which is what I originally think of vulnerability as emotions. And I see now that it's not just emotions, but it's actions. So vulnerability is being able to say, hey, I need help. Vulnerability is being able to stop and take a step back. Vulnerability is being able to step up in the beginning, because that's something else I like. I like being able to initiate. I'm not an initiator. I am a tell me what you need me to do person. So, um, and it's not that I don't think that I can lead, it's that I don't want to risk failing if I offer to lead. And in a sense, that's not being vulnerable. Being vulnerable would be taking that risk of possibly failing and being open about, hey, I don't know how well I'm going to do with this, but here we go. So those are some things that I'm lacking, and I guess that kind of goes into what my professional development opportunities are. So definitely learning to ask for help more consistently. I think that even in this program, just learning to ask for help, being this program being something different than what I'm used to, the asynchronous aspect while working full time, and now I have a toddler, I have a fiance, I have home duty, so it just looks a lot different, and so I probably will need help more often. But being okay with asking for help, being okay with reaching out to say, hey, I'm not sure what this is, or I'm not sure what the expectations are for this, instead of just assuming or guessing and hoping that I'm on the right page. I think that learning that balance is going to be a big jump for me. Not the balance of balancing school and work and life, but more so the balance of being a person that people come to, but also being a person that goes to people. To be successful in this journey, I think a group chat with my classmates would be great. I think that that would allow me some easy access to everybody at once, so that if maybe there's one person I'm closer to, if they don't know the answer, I don't have to worry about waiting until they tell me they don't know the answer to go ask the next person, but I can have easy access to my peers and just kind of check in with them and see what they're feeling and how they interpreted assignments and information, to see if we're on the same page. I think that another resource, honestly, the biggest thing that I will need to be successful in this journey is personal motivation. I think that wanting to be a good leader is something that's important to me. And now that I have this new aspect, this new outlook on what vulnerability is, I have a new motivation to be more vulnerable. And so that will allow me to move a little bit differently in how I engage with others and how I ask for help and how I seek feedback. So, yeah, this is vlog one. Let's hope for the best moving forward.